I'm Monica Greer, 32, standing in my parents' San Diego kitchen, gripping my sister's wedding invitation. Tomorrow's her big day, and I'm bursting with excitement. Dress picked, speech polished. Mom, I'm so excited for the wedding tomorrow, I say, voice bright. She stiffens, her spoon clattering against her mug. Monica, she says, eyes darting away. It was last week. My chest tightens, breath catching. The invitation falls, smacking the counter. I snatch it up. Tomorrow's date stares back. What do you mean? I demand, voice shaking. She mumbles, we sent the wrong date. It's done. My pulse roars. My family, mom, dad, my sister, lied to exclude me. I think of the thousands I've poured into their lives. My sister's debts. Their vacations while they pushed me aside. My jaw clenches, anger surging. I won't cry. I won't beg. Something hardens in me. They think they can use me and toss me out. They're about to learn I'm not that easy to erase. Ever felt stabbed in the back by family? Share your story in the comments below. Later that night, I sat in my gas lamp quarter condo, staring at the invitation. Its elegant script mocked me, each swirl a reminder of my family's betrayal. How could they? Mom, dad, my sister, planning this behind my back. I tossed the card onto the coffee table, my mind spiraling back to the years I'd been there. The safety net? Always there, always giving. 3 years ago, my sister, then 27, launched her interior design business. She had big dreams, sleek showrooms, wealthy clients. But her first major project tanked. A client bailed, leaving her with $10,000 in debt. I got the call at midnight, her voice shaky, begging for help. I'll pay you back, she swore. I wired the money the next day, no questions asked. She never mentioned it again, not even a thank you. I brushed it off, thinking that's what sisters do. Then there was Mom and Dad's house. 2 summers back, their suburban San Diego home needed repairs. Leaky roof, cracked foundation. $30,000, they said, or we'll lose it. I covered it, dipping into my savings from years of late nights as a tech project manager. Dad mumbled something about gratitude. Mom just nodded. I thought it brought us closer. Wrong. They never invited me to their Christmas parties, those loud, crowded gatherings where neighbors swapped stories over wine. You're too busy, Mom would say, her tone sharp. Too busy, or just not wanted. Last Thanksgiving was the worst. I'd driven 3 hours to join them only to find the house empty. We're at the neighbors, my sister texted. No invite attached. I stood on their porch, keys dangling, feeling like an intruder in my own family. I'd funded their lives, debts, repairs, even their anniversary trip to Napa. But I was always the outsider, the one they called when checks bounced, not when they celebrated. My phone buzzed, snapping me back. It was Claudia Hart, my cousin, 38, a freelance journalist who always had my back. Monica, you okay? She asked, her voice soft but urgent. I told her about the invitation, my words tumbling out. She sighed. I didn't want to be the one to say this, but they planned it. Your sister insisted you'd overshadow her day. Your job, your confidence. Mom backed her up. They sent the wrong date to keep you away. My grip tightened on the phone. Claudia's words burned, each one a shard of glass. My sister, the one I'd bailed out, thought I'd ruin her wedding. And Mom, who'd taken my money, agreed. I paced my condo, the city lights flickering outside. Every memory stung sharper now. Every ignored call, every snide remark about my fancy career. I'd been their bank, their fixer, but never their equal. Claudia stayed on the line, her voice steady. You don't deserve this, Monica. What are you going to do? I stopped pacing, my reflection staring back from the dark window. They thought they could erase me from their perfect day. Fine. I'd show them I wasn't just their fallback plan. I'd show them who really held the power. The next morning, I drove to my parents' house. My hands clenched the wheel, heart pounding from last night's truth. Claudia's call had ripped the veil off my family's plan to exclude me. I parked in their driveway, the 2-story house a quiet backdrop for the storm I was about to unleash. I wasn't here to plead. I wanted them to face what they'd done. I banged on the door, each knock sharp. Betty Greer, my mom, 58, opened it, her eyes widening. Monica, why so early? She asked, voice tight. I pushed past her into the living room, where Gerald Greer, my dad, 62, sat with his coffee, eyebrows raised. My sister, Sabrina Greer, 28, sprawled on the couch, scrolling her phone. They all stilled as I stood, arms folded, staring them down. Why did you lie to keep me from the wedding? I asked, voice like steel. Sabrina's head snapped up, her eyes narrowing. Mom started, Monica, let's not, but I cut in. No, you sent a fake date. Wise silence choked the room. Dad set his cup down, avoiding my gaze. Sabrina tossed her phone aside, sitting up. All right, she said, voice dripping with defiance. I didn't want you there. You always steal the spotlight. Your tech job, your confidence. It was my day, not yours. Her words stung sharp and raw. My sister, who I'd pulled from financial ruin, thought I'd overshadow her. I've given you everything, I said, my tone low, controlled. And you repay me by cutting me out? Mom stepped between us, her face hard. Monica, you're too independent. It makes us feel inadequate. Sabrina deserved to shine. Her defense was a knife twisting deeper. Dad just sat there, silent, his eyes on the floor, complicity in his stillness. I turned to him. Dad, you let this happen. He shifted, muttering, it's not that simple. Not that simple. They'd erased me from a day I'd planned to celebrate, and he had nothing to say. Every moment I'd been their lifeline, money, time, loyalty, flashed through my mind. They'd taken it all, then pushed me aside like I was nothing. My hands balled into fists, but I kept my voice even. Yelling wouldn't change them. I'm done being your fallback, I said, eyes locked on Sabrina. She smirked, leaning back. You're blowing this out of proportion, she said. Mom nodded, her voice softer now. We're family, Monica. Don't turn this into a war. But it was a war. They'd drawn the line, treating me like a tool, not a daughter, not a sister. I looked at them. Sabrina's smug expression, Mom's forced calm, Dad's avoidance, and saw no regret, only justification. I headed for the door, my steps deliberate. This isn't the end, I said, pausing, my hand on the knob. Sabrina laughed, a harsh, cutting sound. What, you'll make us pay? She mocked. Mom reached out, saying, Monica, stay and talk. I didn't look back. They thought I'd cave like always. But they were wrong. As I stepped outside, the morning air sharp against my skin, my mind was clear. They'd built their lives on my support. Now they'd learn what happened when that support vanished. That night, San Diego's city lights shimmered beyond my balcony, the hum of traffic below matching the storm in my head. The Greers, my families, had drawn their line. But what they didn't know was that I'd been preparing for this kind of betrayal for years. I'd always kept records, bank transfers, receipts, messages. Proof of every dollar I'd spent saving them. Proof that I'd been their backbone. Maybe it was the project manager in me, or maybe deep down, I'd always known they'd turn on me one day. I opened my laptop, pulling up folders I hadn't touched in years. Family, finances, house repairs 2022. Sabrina loan agreement. Unsigned. Each document glared at me. Thousands poured into their comfort, their stability, while I'd been treated like a spare part. I stared at Sabrina's folder the longest. Screenshots of texts. Please, Mon, I just need a little help to keep my business afloat. I'll pay you back after my next client, promise. No repayment ever came. Just more excuses, more guilt trips. I scrolled through her Instagram. There she was, smiling in a white dress, posing in front of a floral arch with her husband, Evan Price, some dull real estate guy she'd met at a networking mixer. Her caption, the most magical day of our lives. Surrounded by love, except for the sister she'd erased. I exhaled slowly, forcing calm. I wasn't going to humiliate myself with petty revenge. I'd do what I did best. Plan, act, and let reality collapse around them. The next morning, I met Claudia for coffee at Cafe Virtuoso in Barrio Logan. She was already there, laptop open, dark curls tucked behind one ear. You look like you haven't slept, she said, eyeing me carefully. I haven't, I admitted. They've taken everything I gave them and twisted it into some narrative where I'm the villain. Claudia frowned. They've always been threatened by you, Monica. You're successful, confident, and you don't need their approval. They do this to feel control. I stirred my coffee, the spoon clinking softly. Control's about to shift, her brows rose. You're planning something. I smiled faintly. I'm done being their silent provider. I've got files, records, proof of every loan, every repair I covered. They'll finally face what they've done. Claudia hesitated. Just be careful. You've got power now, don't waste it on anger. But it wasn't anger driving me anymore. It was precision. Over the next few days, I built my case. Not for court, but for truth. I drafted an email titled Transparency. I attached receipts, screenshots, even messages from Mom thanking me for covering their debts. At the bottom, I wrote, "You built your comfort on my effort and cut me out when I stopped serving your image. Consider this my final act of generosity, the truth. Don't contact me again. I didn't send it yet." Timing mattered. On Friday, Claudia texted, "You should see what Sabrina posted." My stomach turned as I opened Instagram again. Sabrina had uploaded a video montage of her wedding day, music swelling, laughter echoing, my parents dancing. Her caption read, "Family means everything." That word, family, snapped something in me. I hit share and posted a photo of that same invitation on my own profile with the caption, "Imagine funding your family's lives for a decade, only to be sent the wrong date for your sister's wedding." Betrayal doesn't always come from strangers. Within hours, the post exploded. Dozens of comments poured in, coworkers, friends, even distant cousins. "Wait, what? They did what to you? That's disgusting. Proud of you for speaking up." By the next morning, Sabrina's perfect image was cracking. Mutual friends unfollowed her. Her husband's relatives started asking questions, and her comments section turned chaotic. Mom called. I let it ring. She texted instead, "Take down the post." "You're humiliating us," I replied. "You did that yourselves." That was the first time I'd stood my ground without guilt. And it felt like breathing for the first time. But the satisfaction didn't last long. 2 nights later, I came home to find my apartment door slightly ajar. My heart froze. I stepped in quietly. I've no forced entry, no broken lock. But my desk drawers were open, papers scattered. Someone had been there, my laptop was gone. So was the flash drive labeled Family Receipts. Backup. I backed into the hallway, adrenaline surging. My building had security cameras. I'd installed them myself after a break-in months ago. I rushed to the monitor app on my phone. There she was. Sabrina caught on camera, slipping into my condo with a spare key, one I'd given her years ago when she was crashing for a weekend. I stared at the footage, my pulse thundering. She wasn't just embarrassed. She was trying to erase proof. The next morning, I called Claudia. "She broke in," I said flatly. "What?" "I have footage." She took my laptop and flash drive. "Are you going to the police?" I hesitated. I could. But something colder stirred in me. "No," I said finally. "She wants to destroy evidence?" "Fine, I'll use that too." Claudia exhaled sharply. "Monica, this is getting dangerous." I nodded. "I know." But she just handed me the leverage I needed. That night, I drafted one final message. Not to my family, but to Evan, her husband. "Evan, I know you married Sabrina believing in her integrity. You deserve to know she broke into my home last night. I have footage. I won't press charges if my belongings are returned by tomorrow." He replied an hour later. "I'll handle it. Please don't go to the police." The next morning, a courier delivered my laptop and flash drive, sealed in a box. No note, no apology. Just quiet guilt. I smiled faintly, plugging in the drive. Everything was intact. But now something new burned inside me. Not just justice, but clarity. Family wasn't blood. It was trust, and they'd severed that bond themselves. The following week, San Diego felt different, sharper somehow. The ocean breeze that usually calmed me now carried a weight I couldn't shake. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from extended relatives, former friends of my family, even colleagues who'd seen the viral post. Some offered sympathy. Others wanted drama. But through it all, I stayed quiet. I wasn't looking for attention. I was reclaiming my story. Then one message stopped me cold. It was from Evan, my sister's husband. "We need to talk." In person, I debated ignoring it, but curiosity won. We met at Waterfront Park, neutral ground. He arrived looking wrecked, dark circles under his eyes, tension in his shoulders. "Thanks for coming," he said, his voice tight. "Sabrina's been a mess." I crossed my arms. "She broke into my home, Evan." He winced. "I know. I didn't even believe it until I saw the footage myself. She's been spiraling since the wedding." "Because she's guilty," I shot back. He sighed, staring out at the bay. "You're right. But there's more you don't know," I frowned. "Like what?" He hesitated, running a hand through his hair. "The money. The house deposit, the one she told everyone I covered? It came from you, didn't it? I blinked, caught off guard. How did you— She kept all the transfers on her phone. I saw them after the wedding. You've been paying her bills for years, Monica. I stayed silent. He wasn't wrong. He looked at me, guilt flickering in his eyes. I married her because I loved her, but now I realize I don't even know who she is. She's obsessed with appearances. Your success made her feel small. I exhaled, the anger softening for just a second. She could have talked to me. Instead, she erased me. He nodded slowly. She's unraveling. And your mom's feeding it, saying you're trying to destroy the family. I laughed, a dry, humorless sound. Destroy it? I've been the only one keeping it afloat. He looked down. I don't know what to tell you except she's not the same person I married. She's terrified people will find out the truth about where the money came from. That's not my problem anymore, I said, standing. He looked up. What are you going to do? I paused, meeting his eyes. End it the right way. That night, I opened my laptop again, this time not to dig into old records, but to write a new document. Final letter to the Greer family. It wasn't rage anymore. It was resolve. I typed slowly, deliberately. To my family, Mom, Dad, and Sabrina, I once believed loyalty meant sacrifice. I gave you money, time, and forgiveness because I thought family meant protecting each other. But family doesn't erase someone to feel superior. Family doesn't lie, steal, or exclude. You did all of that and more. From this day forward, I am done funding your comfort. The house repairs, the loans, the debts, they were gifts from someone who loved you. That person no longer exists. Consider this my formal separation from your dysfunction. You chose image over truth. Now you live with it. Monica, I printed the letter, sealed 3 copies in separate envelopes, and dropped them in the mail. No return address. 2 days later, my phone rang again. Mom this time. I almost didn't answer, but part of me wanted to hear her voice. Monica, she began sharply. What have you done? You've embarrassed this family beyond repair. I let out a low breath. I exposed the truth. You're tearing us apart. I laughed bitterly. No, Mom, you did that when you decided I wasn't worth honesty. There was a long silence, then her voice broke, a rare crack in her perfect composure. You're my daughter. You can't just walk away. I felt the sting behind my eyes, but I refused to let her guilt take hold. You walked away first. I hung up before she could answer. The next few weeks were quiet, too quiet. My post died down, my phone stopped buzzing. My world became peaceful again. I focused on work, took morning runs by the marina, started sketching for the first time in years. But one evening, just as the sun dipped over the Pacific, a letter appeared in my mailbox. No return name, just the familiar handwriting. I hesitated before opening it. Monica, Sabrina says I don't know what to say except I'm sorry. Not for the wedding. I still think that day was mine. But for everything that led up to it. I broke into your place because I was scared. You have proof of how much I owe you, and I didn't want Evan to find out. I ruined everything trying to protect myself. You were always the strong one. I was jealous. I still am. Don't forgive me. Just know that I know now what I lost. The paper trembled in my hands. Her handwriting, messy, frantic, was proof of guilt, but also something else. For the first time, maybe she was being honest. I folded the letter, slid it into a drawer, and stared out the window. For years, I'd been the family's safety net. Now I was free, untethered, finally able to live without their weight dragging me down. But closure isn't peace. It's just silence after the storm. I didn't respond. Some chapters aren't meant to reopen. Still, sometimes at night, I'd wonder, did she mean it? Or was it just another performance, one last plea to control the narrative? I'd probably never know. 3 months later, autumn settled over San Diego. Soft, golden, and quieter than I remembered. The chaos had faded, replaced by a strange stillness. I no longer checked my phone every hour, waiting for some new family outburst. The Greers had gone silent. It was exactly what I wanted. At work, things were better than ever. My team respected me. I'd been promoted to senior project lead at the firm. My days were long but fulfilling. My nights, for the first time in years, were mine. Still, the silence sometimes lingered too long. One Sunday morning, I walked along Seaport Village, coffee in hand, watching families laugh. Couples argue, kids chase gulls by the pier. And there it was, that faint, hollow ache I didn't want to name. Not regret. Not loneliness. Something quieter. The echo of a bond that used to exist. I sat on a bench facing the water. A child nearby was blowing soap bubbles into the wind. For a second, I thought about the last real memory I had of my family before everything shattered. A barbecue in our backyard. Laughter. Smoke. Dad pretending he could grill. Mom humming. Sabrina stealing my sunglasses and laughing until she cried. That version of us was gone. Maybe it had never really been real. My phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. I hesitated, then answered. Monica Greer? A voice asked. Yes? This is Detective Harris with the San Diego Police Department. I'd like to ask you a few questions about an incident involving your sister, Sabrina Price. My heart lurched. What happened? She's fine, he said quickly. Just shaken up. There was an attempted break-in at her house last night. We believe it was related to some online harassment she's been receiving since that social media post you made a few months back. I closed my eyes, exhaling. I had nothing to do with that. I understand. We just wanted to confirm whether you'd been in contact with her recently. No, I said quietly. Not since she wrote me that letter. He thanked me and hung up, but I sat there frozen. The sound of waves muffled against the rush in my ears. I hadn't spoken to her in months. And now, she was being hunted by the same mob that had turned on her after my post. I hadn't asked for that. I'd only wanted accountability. But the internet doesn't do nuance. Later that night, I called Claudia. She's being harassed, I said. By who? People online, strangers, trolls. Claudia sighed. That's the cost of truth, Monica. Once it's out there, you can't control where it goes. I didn't mean for this, I whispered. I know, but it's not your burden anymore. After the call, I sat in the dark, watching the lights from the harbor flicker through my window. For the first time, the anger I'd been carrying started to loosen. Not from forgiveness, but from fatigue. I pulled out Sabrina's letter from the drawer. The paper crinkled from the number of times I'd unfolded it. I read it again slowly this time. Her words weren't enough to undo what she'd done. But maybe, just maybe, they were real. I found myself writing a new letter, not out of obligation, but to release what was left. Sabrina, I heard about the break-in. I'm not reaching out to reopen anything, only to say I don't wish you harm. I don't want revenge anymore. You've already lived it. We were sisters once. Maybe in another life that could have meant something lasting. But in this one, it's over. I'm letting it go. Take care of yourself. Monica sealed it, no return address, and mailed it the next morning. I didn't expect an answer, I just wanted it out of my hands. Weeks passed. The holidays came and went. My parents didn't call. Sabrina didn't write back. The quiet grew roots, became part of my daily rhythm. Then one evening in January, I received an email. No subject line. Just one sentence. Thank you for letting me go. No name, but I knew who it was. I stared at the screen for a long time, a strange calm washing over me. It wasn't reconciliation, but it was something close. Not peace, but a truce with myself. I deleted the email, closed my laptop, and stepped out onto my balcony. The city stretched below, lights glimmering like small, fragile hopes. For the first time in years, I didn't feel used, betrayed, or forgotten. I felt free. The world hadn't given me closure. I'd built it myself. Piece by piece, out of truth and pain, and finally, acceptance. As the wind shifted off the bay, I whispered to no one in particular, "Goodbye, Sabrina," and for once I meant it.